Welcome to our thing, the Nexus event thing.
What's the Nexus prompt?
It's to finish a secondhand book. Yeah, finish any borrowed or secondhand books. I don't think I'm finishing the Poppy War by the end of the night, but that's okay.
Borrowed or secondhand?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I can read a library book then.
Yeah. I am only like a third of the way through this. So, anyways, do you know what you're reading or not yet?
It is up between either On the Come Up or Cool for the Summer.
I do not know anything about that one. I know that On the Come Up is very good. It's going to be interesting to see what Angie did with the movie, because in the book, this was like pre-J.K. Turfling. So in the book, like, Bree is obsessed with HP.
Oh.
So, like,
thank you for the warning.
Yeah, you can tell that, like, Angie, like, it was a huge influence on Angie's childhood just by the way that it's handled in The Hate You Give and On the Come Up. But, like, now she's not, like, as big into it, obviously. So
well, shit.
Yeah. Like, I can understand the nostalgia because a lot of that fandom was really important for people. But
yeah,
I don't want to give my time to Miss Turfling, except to Bachelor. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for the advanced warning. I did not know that. So
yeah. Like, it's not anything that was, like, done because Angie's unaware of the situation. It's just this was written before Rowling went hard into turf territory. All right, so we got some friends. We've got Liz. How many books have you finished since they dropped the Nexus event, Liz?
Probably like 4.
I know, like, that's like a book every minute, probably. Hello, Julie. And then, hi, Alex. Welcome. And Brianna is at an event, but she's stopping in to say hi. Thank you, Brianna. We love you. We're sorry you weren't able to be here, but yeah. We had to do some last minute changes for when this live show was going to happen.
I literally was me and Soren took a nap. We took a nap at like 3 something to like 6 something. So like every time I was responding, I was like, my eyeballs were barely open. Was somehow making it a complete sentence.
I will take a nap when I am done here. I will take a very long nap. So that's the problem with getting off at like 5:30, is that, like, I get home too late to take a nap, but then I'm usually super tired.
We could always do a 20-minute power nap.
My problem is your girl has zero self-control. And so she sets the timer. She turns the timer off and goes, 5 more minutes.
And then you wake up and it's dark and there's wrinkles all over your arms and you forgot what year it is.
Yeah. And then it's like it's a 34-minute nap and I'm like, oh shoot, I'm not going to be able to fall asleep tonight, am I? So anyways, my choices are currently, I think I'm going to eventually get to this one, Arusha and the End of Time, because I need to finish this by the end of the month, because I said I finished it in my TBR.
I finished it yesterday.
Nice. And then The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, which is amazing. I have not been able to put it down every time I've picked it up.
I've heard it's really good. Sel loves that series.
It is so good. And like reading this alongside reading the Rape of Nanking as well is just really interesting and like eye-opening. Because I think there's definitely stuff that I would have missed if I hadn't started reading that. So anyways, also like not getting attached to any of the characters yet except for Ren, because I'm like, I know this one at least makes it through 3 books, but like we've got this sweet little soft scholar boy, and I'm like, oh, don't get attached. Don't get attached.
Don't get attached to anybody.
He's gonna. Speaking of HP, by the way, if you are an adult looking for that kind of style book, the Poppy War is gonna be your jam. Like, she is in a military school having to learn stuff. So, like, it is.
That sounds way better than any possible racist trope that could be put into the book at any time.
Yeah. I do not know. There is some talk, like, it's really interesting because she's talking about some of the different like populations in this world, and some are obvious. Like, obviously you have China, you have Japan, and then you have these people called the Spearleys. And I'm thinking that there's some sort of Pacific Island group, but I'm not entirely sure. And I'm not sure like which war that this was. So like that one's going to take more research. But yeah, it's very interesting. Let's see. Alex says, I think I'm going to attempt to finish Beach Read. I haven't decided yet. I've been conflicted on whether I want to DNF or not.
Alex has been having difficulties.
Yeah, it's Emily Henry's books, from what I understand, like you either jive with them or you don't. Like they either work for you or you're like, I don't understand, this should have been literary fiction. Hello, fantasy and fiction. And then
Alex just has a conflict with the content in certain books, and when they're like not brought up like at all. Like a lot of the TikTok favorites have been like, oh yeah, this was amazing and it was so good and super cute, and then
Colleen
like
Hoover.
it has something super duper dark in it and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I just watched Caleb Joseph put up a new video about Colleen Hoover. And it's funny because like what at least her most recent book, or maybe not her most recent book, but like It Ends With Us, it's very obvious that like this is not supposed to be a romanticization of the abuse. This is just like, I'm working through some shit and I want to make this very obvious, like what this is.
That poor boy was demonized by the whole community.
He was. I don't think it doesn't help that he was like a teenager, and so teenagers never react well to that stuff. So then people are like, see, we were justified because they reacted this way. But like, no, you guys did this.
You were mean to a little kid, to a kid that did not deserve it.
For not liking an author. Anyways, but like, so like I get the kind of impression from her that she's just writing very real abuse narratives, and it's not supposed to be romanticized, and then it's the people reading it that are going, oh my god, this is so romantic, and I'm just like,
how about the line, we laughed at our son's big balls? Yeah,
that's
weird.
A
real winner.
That's just weird. Okay, let's see. Laura just had to swipe out her book to make it work. And then Liz says, I have a few graphic novels to go through, and I have a few audiobooks from the library I'm close to finishing. Hopefully I can have them all done by tomorrow night. I might be able to finish the Poppy War by tomorrow night. Laura was reading Book Lovers, but now is reading Hook, Line, and Sinker. And then
I started that. That's cute.
Alex is saying, yeah, Beach Read is fine, but trigger warnings are so crucial. Yeah. And I feel like that's hard because like I've heard of authors that have advocated for them and like the publisher doesn't think they're important. Like Leigh Bardugo, when what is it called? Ninth House came out.
Oh
was
my
like,
god.
Hey, just so you know.
That one was a whole oof.
We are a TJ Klune hate account here, so if you,
Yeah,
I support DNFing it.
not sorry at all. Making
I
the 60
support.
scoop of fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah, I support. Honestly, like if you read his interview, he talks about how he went into researching several different schools, but then doesn't name any of the other ones. I'm like, sir. Like, it's one thing if you're like, hey, this was one in many that I researched about. It's another
Or
thing when
it would have
only one you mention.
If it at least been like, oh hey, you should donate to so and so, or like do this.
Yeah, I've seen he like advocates for people to look it up, but like if I just like the way he's handled any of that is just really like he wanted it. The main lesson was not like power corrupts or any sort of critique of the system. He's like, it's just kindness, and I'm just like, sir, that's fucking offensive.
Okay.
Not to traumatize you any further with that book, but like I'm sitting there going, my dude, the Magdalene Laundries is over in Ireland. Like you have full go for that one. Anyways, let's see. Laura says Pango for the win. Anyways, yeah, there's some other stuff with some of his other books that I found when I was looking into it, and that was why I was like, okay, maybe we just find someone else to read.
Yeah, that's the best policy. Just somebody else, anybody else.
Like there are some people where it's like, okay, it's your first time being a dumb white person. I can, okay, and then there's, or like,
I'm gonna make a bookmark. It's my first time being a dumb white person.
But if you're doing like the same, like people are having problems with your books continually, that's a little bit of an issue. And like it's specifically people who are like, hey, you're misrepresenting us. Or you're using us for that's my big thing. Like he used it for marketing. And then isn't like, hey, here's somewhere where you can donate to the survivors of residential schools or something. Like
nope.
Makes it less iffy. Anyways, is there anything else we want to cover? I'm sorry, Christy. You probably did not mean to like start that whole tirade. But a lot of people just don't know. No, just a lot of people don't know about like it's really weird to me to see it like held up as this wonderful book and no one even mentions. I'm like, it's the not mentioning that bugs me.
What bugs me the most is when you get other Black and brown and indigenous people being like, oh, well, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It just screams.
Yeah, it's like, Yeah, he did. Like, if I had been that adamant, like, I would have been like, hey, a portion of these book sales are going to again, same thing with, like, Twilight and Stephanie Meyer.
Or, Jay Kristoff when he was selling his books.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he just has a long list of really dumb white person shit he's done. Like, at this point, this is either chosen ignorance or you're doing it in spite of every single critique you've gotten. And it doesn't take that much to be like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I will not do that again. I will, like, again, not to bring out my favorite, but Rick Riordan being like, hey, we're going to change this so no future printings has this information in it.
I love his attitude about the castings of like, that's Annabeth. That's my Annabeth.
Yeah. I am a little disappointed that Percy's hair is blonde, but I think that that's more about like that was a conscious choice on the part of the wardrobe team because it was one of those things like if they changed him to look more like Percy, then people would be more like, hey, and they're kind of going into these actors, it's more important than their looks. So I appreciate that, even if it makes me sad. So
I mean, Logan Lerman had like brown hair, so
he did. Like everybody who's played Percy up to this point did. It's one of those things that like it's really funny how people get all up at arms at the idea of like Walker dyeing his hair. When I'm like, that's like that. It's my friends. It's dye. Kids dye
it'll
their
come
hair
out.
all the time. So I think it was probably a mixture of him still being able to do other projects while, or being able to do like shoots for other stuff while he's doing Percy, and another mixture of like, hey, we're not going to change anything about the way these actors look because we're taking a stance on specifically, I think, on Annabeth. And so that's like keeping Percy as like Walker exactly as he is in support of doing that. So anyways, shall we sprint now that we've gotten all of like the weird hot takes out of the way?
Yes. Let's do that. I don't know what I'm going to start with, but we'll figure something out.
There it is. Okay, perfect. All right. I'm probably going to work on the Poppy War because I need to edit if my computer will let me do that while also streaming. If it starts to freak out a little bit. And see, that's why I bring it up every time I can, Christy, because I know a lot of people do not know, because there are a lot of people that like kind of dismiss it. And for me, the big issue is how he has handled it and addressed it more than that it was used in the first place. Like that's just like there are good ways to do that if you're going to. So, like, Europeans, especially British Europeans, do have a history of putting children in schools because they're inconvenient to them. They just love to do that everywhere. So there were plenty of places he could have brought up besides using the 60 scoop to market. Anyways, shall we sprint?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, mute your mic. Welcome back, everyone. Ro has joined us. Hello. Nice to see ya. Currently reading My Government Deems to Kill Me by Rashid Newson. So that sounds like a fun one to be reading.
Which one?
My Government Deems to Kill Me by Rashid Newson. And I'm really like, that could be anywhere at this point in time.
It's been such a long time since I read a nonfiction about that kind of issue. Believe it or not, I used to read only nonfiction.
Yeah.
When I was in high school. And then I read a fantasy and I was like, never again.
That's funny. I like nonfiction when it's like I love reading about history. Especially now that I'm like sorry, Liz's. Especially now that I'm like, oh, there's so much that like we're not taught in the United States as white people. So
for me, it had to have a pretty cover.
Yeah.
And it had to be about mostly about women, because I don't think I ever read anything by a man.
Yeah. I did a lot of like I was the queen of school reports when I was in school, so yeah. Anyways, and that also is like why I like I know certain things that people like, because my mom let me read stuff. So I read a lot about the Holocaust. I read a lot about like what was happening in the United States with the westward expansion and like the tribes being pushed aside. Like there was an entire report I did that focused on Sitting Bull, and so I knew all of that history. So like when people started, oh yeah, this also happened, this also happened, this also happened, I'm like, yeah, that tracks. But I was given a lot more freedom because I was homeschooled. So, you know what I mean?
100%, because whenever I was making selections, I would hold the book and like, oh, this is really, really dark. Okay, but it's pretty. I'll read it anyway.
That's funny. Yeah. I liked the biography section when I was a kid.
And I had a not like other girls face. So I was like, I'll just read nonfiction and be cool.
I mean, what woman or person, AFAB person who grew up in the 90s did not have a not like other girls phase? I think we might have invented it. And that's not true.
I think so too.
There are so many. If you go into Victorian literature, there's also like there's that phase every time.
Literally, my favorite character herself is very much a not like other girls girl.
She actually does that very well, I think, in that series, because it's not so much of like, oh, I'm so much better. It's like, why can't I be both? And I really liked that. I liked that touch. Liz just looked up some of the stuff about Jay Kristoff, and I was like, oh, which controversy did you find? So
and there's also videos that other Asian booktubers have made about it too.
Yeah. So I knew about the anti-Asian one. That was like one of his first books that made him very, very popular. And he appropriated, I believe, I might be wrong, but Japanese culture for that one. And that's actually why I stopped reading the Illuminae files and stopped reading Amy Kaufman. Because up until that point, I was like, I'm not going to punish a woman for a man being terrible. But I found
she was also wasn't she supporting him, or she was supporting
I think
wasn't it when like everyone found out about like Emily Duncan and
I don't know about that. I know that when that was coming out,
that one girl group of
they were talking about how an author approached her and was like saying, like, it came up in conversation. He's like, yeah, well, that's very harmful. And Amy just basically brushed it off. And this was an East Asian woman saying, hey, he's appropriating my culture, and like it's not cool. And Amy Kaufman's reaction to that was not great. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I read other authors. I know about the anti-Semitism because he wrote a vampire book, and unless you are looking at your lore and what you're using, a lot of fantasy tropes, especially in regards to vampires, are anti-Semitic. But there also was a bunch of issues in regards to one of the characters in Nevernight. And I do not entirely, whoever the dude was, there was some appropriation there as well.
I think I got like 10 pages into that book and I was just like, nope, this is not, I can't, not for me.
Thought about reading that series for a while, but I knew it was really dark, so I wanted to wait until it came out so that I kind of knew, like, because I kind of got an idea of which ship I would like, and wanted to see how that was going to play out before I started the book, because I knew it was very dark, and lo and behold, it didn't play out well. So I was like, nah. And then I found
there was a clip. Oh, go ahead.
No, and then I found out a whole bunch, like all of the other stuff started coming out about him. So, and then what did you find out?
Oh yeah, there was when I got the book, and I remember tweeting about it, and I remember he responded, and I remembered that I was like super duper happy about it because it was like one of my first author interactions. And now I look back and I'm like, oh no, girl, like if I could go back in time, I would tell her, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't buy this. Don't spend your money.
Sad. It's sad because like he can write. But yeah, that's just like so for me it's less about like I'm okay with reading problematic authors when I know what their biases are. For me, it's more about like if it's a living author, I don't want to be supporting them. And like, especially if it's somebody like with J.K. Rowling, where it's like, I know you are actively using your money to hurt people. Like, if it's just I said something dumb on Twitter, whatever, okay, fine. I might read you. Because like I don't think me choosing not to read J. Kristoff's books is really doing him any harm. It's just like I don't want my money going towards that or my time.
Most authors that have done something bad, it doesn't do anything bad to them. It just makes people want to read their book for the attention of like, oh, I read so and so's book.
Yeah, and like I appreciate it when it's someone going like, hey, I'm gonna read this so you don't have to. Like when Bear read Dread Nation and like broke everything down. Like that was fantastic. Or like Rachel's been reading some of the controversial white gay books that have been
white sapphic books. Rachel's freaking videos. Oh my gosh.
And
like,
she's
I see stuff and I'm like, hey.
Yeah, she's doing such a very good job. And like it's very obvious that she's sitting there going, okay, I want to make sure that people have information and can make a decision about like if they don't you don't have to read the book to know what's going on.
I honestly I really praise her because she puts out such good content all while raising 2 kids under the age of like 8.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think it might be under the age of just 5. Yeah. I have none, and I don't make videos half that intelligent.
I think they're about the same age. Well, one of them's about around the age of Soren,
okay, probably her oldest. Okay. Sorry, we have some comments, so I do want to get to those before we move on to the.
Okay.
let's see. Alex says I
We
forgot
rant
about.
here.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. So somebody left Thor and I unsupervised. And then Julie is like, I still like the biography section. Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm more in the like, oh look, here are
About an
terrible things that
event
happened.
for me.
Yeah, I'm so much more. I'm in the events phase right now. Christy I think it's Strader. I want to say Strader actually because it looks German. I wish I had some freedom to read when I was in school. My mom was so controlling that her actions really had the opposite of her side effect. It's funny because my mom was very, very specific about what I was allowed to read and watch, but she did have the grace or the wisdom to kind of talk with me about some of the stuff. Where like I wasn't
wish my mom restricted some of my reading. Oh my god.
like
I read like Bastard out of Carolina at like age 15 and I had no idea what was going on and I was like this is very weird. I don't know what this is. But like if I wanted to watch something, if I wanted to watch anime, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. She did not let me read the Song of the Lioness Quartet when I was the peak age range for that because there is a line about them sleeping together.
Listen, Alana was a hoe and we knew it. She was in her hoe phase and that's fine.
Yeah.
She had every right to be.
Yeah. But yeah, so like, but like she was also very open and communicative about it and like this is why we do this and this is so while I do not necessarily those would not be the standards that I hold my own kids to, I do appreciate her approach in most of it. She also didn't let me walk around my block until I was like 16 because we had a halfway house down the street from us. Didn't say anything about that, just was like, yeah, you can't do that. And I'm just like So
damn.
And then Liz said, oh yeah, a whole lot of nope going on with him. Thanks for sharing. I didn't know that before. Again, that's why I like to share this stuff, not necessarily to judge people, but so that people can make a decision about their reading. And at least know. Because like it's one of those things that like if I read something and I know something's in there, I still enjoyed it, I still want to be able to like, hey, this may be like Percy Jackson. There's so much fat phobia in there. And I'm just like, I'm going to point it out. I'm going to say something about it. It doesn't necessarily affect too much of my enjoyment of the book, but I know it can be very triggering for other people. So it's like, Alex says Rachel's video on Alex Astor was so good. Yeah, the Alex Astor situation, like people were acting like she did something way worse than what she actually did, which was just be a privileged person, and write apparently a terrible book.
I liked I really like her even like some of her evangelical content and her
her evangelical content is just so gratifying.
Like the fundy world is just crazy. Like I don't like organized religion in general, but like seeing different sides of religion has always been something very interesting to me.
I miss having a church, but I also like my church was not like I started to realize that my values and my church were kind of parting ways. So we like I'll eventually probably find another church, but when I do, it's going to be a mainline church, and it's going to be one like the one down the street from me that is at the very base is at least performatively being like, hey, Black Lives Matter, gay rights, all of this stuff. Like, you know. So it's just like, but that's really hard where I am, and especially with COVID, because I don't want to be going a lot of places.
That's true. Yeah, so. The church that I had gone to, like I don't really go there. I don't go there for church. I would just go there for like the mom events or whatever. And like they're all really great. Like a bunch of great women. For me though, I'm just like I'm just here for the communication and the fun. I'm not here for the devotional. I'm not here for all of that other stuff.
Yeah. And like I do miss some of the community aspect of it. But it's like I don't know. I don't know how my church would be now after 2020 and the 2020 election. Like, and like, it's really funny because there are a lot of people at that church that do believe in, like, they say they're dedicated to diversity and they want to make sure that they have a diverse staff. And then, like, my big thing was in June that not a single pastor that I could tell addressed George Floyd and what happened there. Not a single pastor. And I was just like, Plus, I have a friend who's the children's pastor there, and I knew some of the inner workings about like people being like, we don't want to follow COVID guidelines. And I was like, if there are people like that on my pastoral staff, I don't think I feel safe there. So
It's like some of you are handling babies and stuff.
yeah, and that was her thing. Like she was always pushing to like, we need to not, like people were pushing to reopen children's church, and she's like, we don't have the staff and the capability to keep people safe right now. So yeah. Anyways, all right, what do you say we do another sprint?
That sounds good to me.
3, 2, 1, mute your mic. Welcome back. All right, we're gonna wrap up here. I think that was the last sprint. But how did we do?
I got 5 pages into Cool for the Summer.
Nice.
And I got 10 pages into On the Come Up. And that's it, because I was talking to Alex about my analytics.
Nice. I got to page 235 in the Poppy War and then decided it was time to switch over to this one. So I was like, okay, I've done my color correction. I've worked on my video. There's a video going up today, so I don't need to do one for tomorrow. So
I have one going up at midnight.
nice.
It's gonna be my favorite TV shows and what I like about them.
Nice. I'll have to put that on my watch later in the morning. All right.
I've been experimenting with the way my thumbnails look. So.
I always like your thumbnails. Oh, sorry. My bad. Julie only has about an hour left of her, I'm assuming, audiobook. Nice. Anybody else? Sarah grabbed a quick shower and is about 15% out of finishing my 41st book of the month. Very happy with my personal challenge. Sarah, how you have animals that you keep alive? You do crafty things. You've read 41 books this month. Are you superhuman?
I wish I had that energy.
I could do that, but I wouldn't be able to have like a daytime job or do anything outside of reading. If I did nothing else,
I would literally have to ignore everything in my life.
Sarah says audiobooks are my best friend. Yeah. I started watching YouTube at work instead. So that's what happened there. Liz says she moved on to reading Fence Volume 1 through 4. Nice.
Oh, I like the first Fence.
Nice. I will probably put the Poppy War on for a little bit, and then finish up my night with Arisha because I, get ready for bed and all that stuff. Sarah says debates of my genetic makeup have been going on for years. And Max chimed in with actually watching and paying attention to Roland Ellis's video essay. Ooh, which one?
I do not know who that is.
She is a queer YouTuber that does a lot of commentary. Like, she did a really good breakdown of the dark academia and like cottagecore and all of that stuff.
Someone should send that to me. Yesterday I completed my bullet journal for Arisha.
Nice. You have such pretty paper. I love it.
I got it from Hobby Lobby.
Nice. What kind of journal is that?
This is actually from Hobby Lobby, and it's just black paper, right? But then the craft paper was from Walmart, but they didn't have it this year because it was during the back to school from last year, and I bought a journal of that, and that was going to be my reading journal. But when I started putting things into it, the edges were like how you can like rip out of a notebook. The glue was not what I wanted. I am more of like a stitched together notebook kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I did manage to find another notebook for when my craft paper eventually runs out, and it'll fit perfectly in the pages.
Nice. Perfect. Max says queer pop culture study video essay YouTuber. I linked you to her channel on Twitter. I can read.
That's okay. Good.
So you've got a video coming up at midnight. I have my TBR coming out Thursday, Friday, sometime around then. I'm also going to be on a D&D game possibly tomorrow if we can get things to work. If we have problems this third week in a row, I am going to assume that the issue is actually me, and I am cursing.
No. I mean, they had issues like what, twice?
They've had issues before, yeah. Which is why
so
I'm
it's
not like,
your
this is a
fault.
me thing. But
It's
I
think you're
didn't
just
practice my
projecting on
accent at all
yourself.
today. I still think it's better than my brother's. I'm just saying. But anyways, the key is like I can do it pretty well when it's just me. It's when there are other people involved that it gets hard.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. All of the hosts for the Avengers Initiative Reading Challenge are linked below in my description box. And I will see y'all later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things.